Here we have Maria Eduarda as the Democrat and Pedro as the Republican, and they're going to be debating whether global warming exists or not.
So, the global warming theory is based on the burning of fossil fuels and industrial activities. This increasing the CO2 concentration and increasing the global temperature. But this theory is a fraud. First, no one is destroying the planet because 72% of it is sea and 28% is continent. Of these, 50% are arid and desert areas, and humans use less than 9% of the continental surface. And cities represent just a tiny percentage of 0.05 of the continental of the global of the continental area. Second, the atmosphere composition consists mostly of 78% of nitrogen and 21% of oxygen. The CO2 participation is only 0.03. So CO2 is infinitely inferior to the other gases. Then there's no way that it is causing the global temperature to increase. Also saying that the CO2 is the end of the world is a not reliable assertion, because that the CO2 is very beneficial for us because it stimulates the vegetable growth, and rather than the greater plant food production will be and the higher food production. Third, at present, this data shows that the global mean temperature hasn't changed since 1979, and the extent of global sea ice had also remained unchanged since 1979. And from the end of the last ice age, the sea level has increased more than 100 meters. But in the last 3 years, there has been no rise in the sea level. So, if the polar ice caps are melting, why the sea level is not rising? In conclusion, this is always a fraud. Global warming doesn't exist. The concept of global warming was invented to destroy the competition in the industrial sector. Also, it is a governmental strategy to them to have more population control, more taxes control, and more governmental power. This concludes my case.
Greenhouse effect is a natural phenomenon that happens in our atmosphere. It takes the sunlight rays and concentrates in our atmosphere, making it heater. It was essential for creation of life. Human activities has increased that effect in a natural way. This causes the global warming. And here's the main problem. Since the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the ways of production and consumption has changed a lot, making the industries to find new energy sources. First, coal was the main energy sources to machines because it was easier to take energy. Then, after the popularization of cars, have a higher consumption of fossil fuels, and this is the sources of 75% of the carbon dioxide of the atmosphere. As I said before, the quantity of carbon dioxide is much higher when we burn that substances. So, if we put more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, consequently, we are going to have a more you concentrate more the quantity of carbon dioxide, and then more heat will be in the atmosphere, because the carbon dioxide is essential for the greenhouse effect and the main gas that contains the heat. As the Paris conference said, 1.2 degrees was added to our planet temperature since the Industrial Revolution. They also said that if we continue to produce and consume in the same intensity until the end of the century, 4 degrees will be added to our planet temperature. And they are warned that if it arrives to 2 degrees added, human being will not be able to control the environment because many changes will happen. We can already see some of these effects in the environment. One is the melt of glaciers, which leads to sea levels to rise. And if it continued, like if all the ice melted, the sea level would rise 65 meters. It means that cities like New York and Rio de Janeiro wouldn't exist anymore. Also, one of the effects of global warming in the sea is the acidization of the ocean, which leads the death of many aquatic species. Two other effects that is related to temperature and dysregulation of the seasons of the year. For example, here in Brazil, we are in theory in spring, but now we have a temperature that we are expecting in the winter, so the seasons are not very defined. Also, that one thing that can be happening is that not 100% of scientists agree that global warming exists. It can be caused by some industries pay the scientists to say that to not be in the census that it exists, because once when cigarettes was like be voting to be good or bad, some brands of cigarettes do this to continue to sell their products. So why this can be happening now, like to industries continue to produce their products in the maximum capacity and nobody can do nothing because it's not a scientific census.
So she said that the glaciers are melting because of the concentration of the CO2 that's increasing. But the melting of the glaciers is just a natural process. They melt, then they freeze again. So that isn't true. And that is.
Both sides have very good arguments and rebuttals. However, based on what I've heard, I'm going to have to give the victory to the Democrats.